Well, day 2, Clear Lake. Went pretty well today. Got the ROV in the water and did its testing, Wi-Fi setup, all that kind of stuff, and did some experimental footage. And the ROV worked fantastic. Went through its usual hiccups, you know, as any time you go out on location to film somewhere. Had an issue with the 360, one of the 360 cameras today. Said there was no SD card in it, and there was. You know, numerous reboots, ejecting SD card, blah, 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 blah. No luck. Swapped it out with another SD card out of another camera, worked fine. And the SD card that wasn't 360 worked fine on the other camera, so whatever. Weird stuff happens, and you know, when you're out trying to film stuff, you gotta be prepared for that, and you gotta have a contingency plan, you know. And I think that's another good lesson I learned in the military is have a good contingency plan, because if something can go wrong, it will. And but all in all, things went well. I got the kayak, and the nuts and bolts and so on readjusted and tightened, and on day 1 got that all outfitted, and the camera gear's going good. The ROV is, again, providing with some insane underwater footage. Got it out to about 125, 130 feet down, and good depth, pressure test on it, and it's working fantastic. Took it over here to the cove, got some of the ancient trees, the big ejector over here, got some nice footage of that and some photos and stuff, and that worked out really well. And then later in the afternoon, I decided to test the drag camera, one of the drag cameras off the kayak. And another big shout out to Feel Free 3 Waters. The Big Fish 103 pedal drive is, of course, working flawlessly. That thing's just a monster filming craft. Yes, I know it's a fishing kayak, but I'm telling you right now, for a filming craft platform, for getting out on the water, I just can't say enough about it. It's incredible. Anyway, the drag camera worked really well. Got it all set up and was out there, and I met a gentleman here today who was a free diver, and we went out and I managed to get some cool footage of him. He's never been filmed underwater before, and that was kind of fun for him and me too. The system, of course, is designed to capture scenery underwater at various depths. And so it was really cool, again, for the second time to be able to film somebody, a person in the water. So that was really fun. The last time being the lady I met here a year or so ago that dove the trident trees and the mermaid thing. If you haven't seen that video, look on back there a ways. It's in a video that my son-in-law and I came. Let's see which one on it. That was a video about the Big Fish 103, getting it, taking it out for its first run. And on that filming trip here at this particular lake, we ran into that lady with the mermaid outfit. That was a memorable moment. And I think I did a YouTube short on it too. But anyway, so it's only the second time that I've managed to capture, intentionally capture, a free diver. Now I have gotten actual divers before, but the cool thing is that if I can, run into another diver or a free diver again, and I've got the ROV ready to go and ready to deploy for that particular moment, I can spot on nail them with the ROV and just, that's going to be crazy good. But, whatever, this is my mind's rambling. But all in all, day 2, good filming day, good testing day. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to go over to Coldwater and try to get this bug off my forehead. And I'm going to go to Coldwater, and I'm going to do something a little personal up there by my favorite tree. I might add a little clip of that into a video, maybe, I don't know, maybe a short, something for people who know me will know what that's all about. Anyway, so that's kind of my goal for tomorrow morning. Supposedly it's supposed to be a little overcast, a little cloudy tomorrow, so as far as underwater video, not sure how that's going to work out. With the ROV, it shouldn't be any problems, but as far as drag camera, it could be a problem. So, but I got the capabilities to do both now. So that's cool. Anyway, so I'm gonna hang out here, cool down a little bit. Got the kayak parked again, and I don't know. We'll see where the path takes me. I might chill out for the rest of the night. I might get a wild hair and go do something crazy. I don't know. We'll see. Day 2, going great. Right out of the chute, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Feel Free Three Waters Kayaks for providing me with this pedal drive kayak that I use as a filming craft. It's enabled me to capture much smoother video, because all of my video that I take is essentially taken from a modified kayak with a lot of hand-designed equipment. So while I was out there filming, I ran into a free diver, and we ended up meeting up many times throughout my trip there. And he's a pretty neat guy. And so at this time, I was kind of going around just testing some of my camera equipment, some of the drag cameras, the ROV, stuff like that, just trying to kind of check our equipment and get to play around and explore a little bit. But while I was there, decided to take the opportunity to be able to film him. So here's some of the clips that I managed to capture of him, and he said he'd be watching the channel, and it'd be kind of cool because he'll get to see himself on there. Now do bear in mind that my camera equipment is the way I've designed it. The dive rigs and stuff that I've designed is to capture nature. So it's kind of interesting to also be able to utilize them to capture people at the same time. Another good thing about having him in some of these clips, besides it's kind of interesting to watch someone brave these cold waters, is also to be able to use a human being as a size and scale comparison. So this particular lava ejector is a absolutely gargantuan piece of rock. There's actually 2 of these that I've located in the lake thus far, and they're not too far from each other actually. One of them is extremely close to the surface, and the other one is a little bit deeper. But with that said, you can, as this freediver goes by this particular ejector, it gives you a little bit better scale and scope as to the size of this thing, as you can see here, to the size of this rock. And this thing traveled a long way and landed right there. It is just, I just can't stress how big this thing is, and it just does not convey on camera. So it's kind of nice having the free diver here to give you somewhat of a visual reference. This particular diver, if I had to guess, which I'm not the best at, but if I had to guess, I'd say he's at least a 6-foot guy, plus his fins. Another thing I'd like to point out, at the top of the screen, you'll notice it's kind of hazy at the top, then it gets down about towards the top of that ejector, it gets clear. That's a thermal line, so where it's kind of hazy, the water's a little bit warmer, but once you breach that line and get below that, the water is much, much colder. So if you're up in the top where he was at there, well, that's cold enough, but below that, you're at high risk at that point. So we spent a fair amount of time just kind of horsing around in this area. Um, and he was actually in the water for quite a while. It was pretty impressive to see how long he stayed in the water. Because man, I'm telling you, this water is cold. It's ridiculously cold, and he didn't have gloves on either. So there was a time when he came up out of the water, and we were talking. I believe later on after this, and his hands were just like almost not working. But obviously, he was having a wonderful time. But right now, I'm filming him using one of my drag cameras, and it's hard to see the diver underwater when it's choppy, but learning to track them with a drag camera is kind of a skill set that I'm learning to do. When you can't exactly see your target,
It's kind of a little bit of a guessing game, and together we worked on that a little bit, and understanding how each of them worked, we were able to capture some pretty neat footage that was definitely fun to get. So after we got done filming with the freediver, then I kind of moved on into the opening, kind of the main part of the lake. If you go past the dock where it starts to open up and you take a left out there, there are three very prominent lava domes, and I kind of wanted to film those um, just because they kind of stand out. And what they essentially are, if you follow from the land on down towards the water's edge, where the lava ran down into the what's now the body of the lake, as it ran down, it kind of pools up and it can boil up and make lava domes. And remember, there was no water there at this time. This was the side of a hillside, and one of these in parts of an ancient valley that used to be here. You'll see later on some of the topography that's down in this section of the lake. While I was down there to kind of check out some of the topography and possibly run into an ancient unknown tree. I didn't suspect I would find any trees right in this location, primarily because I've scanned this area some before with drag cameras and such, and I pretty much knew there weren't any trees here, but there were a lot of geological formations that are pretty interesting. And this is one of them right there. That is one of the lava domes, and you can see this from the surface. But when you're utilizing the ROV, which I believe is what I'm using in this case, yeah, that's the ROV, and you can get more on point and target, and you can see things from different angles, and that's a great asset with the ROV for doing research here, and being able to look at the geology and anything else, the ancient trees, whatever I may find down there, instead of just passing by. I'm able to use the ROV to closely analyze individual things. Uh, Sometimes just as simple as this outcropping of lava with I don't know, what, some kind of a stick or whatever. But the question is, I can look. And in this view, you can see a piece of lava that's kind of splatted and landed there. But take note of the angle behind it. Now, the ROV is flying flat, it's horizontal to normal Earth. And so you can see at that point the angle of the land behind it. And there's just another hunk of lava. So the nice thing is I'm able to just kind of cruise right up on it. And if I see anything I want with the ROV, if I see something of interest, I can just sit there on station and observe it, learn it, and document whatever I need to. And that translates onto pieces of wood like this, lava flows, vegetation growth, algae, whatever. Not to mention that if I put the claw on the ROV, if I find a piece of garbage down there, like I did on this trip, several pieces of garbage or things that shouldn't be there, be it just negligence or accidental, anything I find in this lake, I can get a hold of and remove. I think if I were to guess, I could probably remove anything from probably a fishing hook all the way up to several 100 pounds, with different attachments that I have, and I can attach to an item and remove it out of this lake. And ultimately, with the help of divers, free divers, and stuff like that, it's the amount of pride people take when they see something down there. Many people take great efforts to remove anything that shouldn't be there from this lake. And to any of the divers that happen to run across my video or anything, a big shout out and thank you to them for braving these waters, taking the time and the risk to get these things out of the water. Now again, here you look at the topography, and I think at the time I was filming this, that was one of the key things I was looking at, besides this amazing chartreuse algae and stuff. But looking out over the topography, you need to remember. See, there's like a hillside on the left. You need to remember that This used to be a valley running through here with a small river running down the middle of it. And that is looking up a lava flow from quite deep, actually. And so it's created this giant hillside of all lava. And then it just kind of flows down and down and down. And while I was cruising around, I ran across the remnants of an old tree. No idea. I do know this isn't ancient, but it's not very big in real life as far as outside of the ROV. And of course, the view of the hillside behind it. And of course, if I'm going to be down there filming with the ROV, if I run across a fish, well, I kind of got to check him out. One thing of note that I found, really nice about the ROV is that when I do spot a fish, normally if you're a diver or anything like that, they see you, they'll run. But you'll notice the interaction with the ROV with the fish. You know, he's very relaxed right there, and it isn't until you get like inches away that they kind of somewhat speed up. Like you're getting a little close, but they aren't alarmed by the ROV, and that bodes really well if you kind of follow that ideology right on through. So in these parts of the video, basically what I'm doing is I'm just exploring. With the ROV, I can literally just kind of grid an area and explore and just to see what's there. Anything as simple as that. Methane bubbles coming up. I can go down to the spot they popped out of and have a look, see if I want. And an area like this is pretty obvious what's going on. It's plant life breaking down over thousands of years makes methane. Duh. So, but it's still kind of cool looking. I really do enjoy the topography underwater here because when you're up top, if you're able to see down to the bottom, and I'm into some deeper areas over here, you can't see the topography. Now in this area with kind of that unusual blue, this is actually closer to the dock where the rowboats are. You look in the back there, you can actually see their shadows on the lake bed. And this is one of the trees that's pretty close it's right up the center of the channel. So like if you go out the kayak slip and take a right up the channel past the rowboats, there's several of these trees that you can see. And they're absolutely beautiful. One of them is at great risk. And I'm happy to report that they do not allow fishing off the dock anymore because one of these three trees, like the one you're looking at here, this one's pretty solid. One of these three trees is at great risk of coming down if someone were to hit it with a paddle. I'm not sure if you can reach that one with a paddle or not. I'm not sure. But if someone were to hook it with a fishing hook and yank on their line or something, it would topple it over. Again, not this one, but there's one very nearby this one that just has hardly a razor's edge down low that I've never been able to see before until I got the ROV. And I got some good footage of that, and that's when I realized the great risk that particular tree is at. So from a research point of view, and curiosity, the ROV is coming in very handy to not only document these trees and provide looks at them for people who, can't see them from this angle, like this lady here on the paddleboard. The view from up top there is absolutely staggering, but a more detailed view with the ROV is definitely far superior. And for just documenting these things, because you got to understand how old they are. So having this opportunity to document them and record them and watch the evolution as long as I possibly can is well worth the time and effort to do it. And it appears that no one else is really doing it. So I'm honored to have the ability and the drive to do it. So in this clip, this is another section of the lake. You can see most of these trees from the surface, I would say. If you're being observant, you can see most of them. Um, but a lot of these trees are very, very close to the surface. So anybody that watches my videos, please do not touch any of these trees with a paddle or anything of the sort. These trees are so ancient and they are not petrified. They are very fragile. So please, if you dive in these waters or if you're just kayaking, your natural instinct is, oh, let me poke that or let me see how far deep it is. That's an absolutely understandable response when you see something like this. But most people do not understand how old, fragile, and important these trees are. So please, if you're in this area, don't touch them. So what you're looking at here is a lava flow that has come down the hillside into this ancient meadow. And this is the top of a lava tube that has collapsed. And there are several of these through there that can be seen. The angle that the ROV gives you is something you can't see from the surface. So as you look out across the meadow floor, you'll see the topography here where the lava's come in from the right and flowed out, and then parts of it have collapsed. And you'll see on the right side there's a very defined little round pocket on the top, kind of at the top right there. And that particular one, as the ROV approaches it here in a second, you're able to see different layer lines, and it's just kind of neat geology, and a small hole at the bottom. That's kind of cool that you'd be able to see. I wouldn't want to put my ROV in there. I don't like to get close to it. I don't like to get too close or to damage anything. I'm very privileged to be able to utilize my equipment here to document this stuff, and I take great care as to not harm or touch or hurt anything here. So here's an example of damage caused by humans. This was a bottle that someone dropped or something. I'd seen this mark before, and this time with the ROV, I was able to go back to the bottom of the lava collapse and retrieve the bottle. But that's the mark that was left, and it may take hundreds or thousands of years for that to smooth back out. It's really a shame to see it. Here's a real nice view looking down inside one of those really deep lava tubes, and that's the center collapse point going down into the tube. I get kind of close to this one, but it's nice to have a look, and I do get out of there without harming anything. This is a lava flow that's coming from the left, the direction that I'm heading. From the left, you can see a giant lava tube which is all covered in green, and you can see two sections of the lava tube that has collapsed down into it. From the top looking down, you just don't get a scale as to how big these things are, these flows. But with the ROV, again, the scale and scope, you're able to find the capture. And this chartreuse moss that's growing all over the lake bed in certain areas just never gets old looking at. It's absolutely stunning from the top or the bottom. Well, I've enjoyed bringing this type of footage to you, creating it, making it, doing the research. for a long time on this lake. I do hope you enjoy watching it and looking at it from a totally different perspective that I can offer you with lots of work and effort. I do really enjoy it, and I appreciate you all watching my videos. I really do, and I'd like to thank all of my subscribers for the support. It means a great deal to me.